Hello, everyone. Welcome again to SD HistCon Winter Quarters 2026. We've got an exciting demo coming up here. We've got Volko Ruhnke and Mark Greenwald showing off Volko's design of 1943 Race to Rabaul. Volko and I talked about this earlier. You can find that video over also on this SD Hist YouTube channel. But for now, let's get to the demo and take it away, guys.
Thanks, Andrew, and sorry for late start, technical difficulties, and unawareness on my part with various things. Mark Greenwald, as Andrew said, is going to assist me in playing the two Japanese commanders. I'll be playing the two Allied commanders. Our objective will be just to show you the game and how various things work. It won't be a complete exposition. It won't necessarily be brilliant play for the purpose of achieving victory, more just to show you how things work. And I should say we are looking on the tabletop simulator module, for play tests done by Pete Wagner. And we're looking mostly at art by Donal Hegarty that is production art, but is still a work in progress. These are draft art, and there's among some of the materials still my old prototype homemade stuff mixed in, and these are not final, so there are various errors and changes. The components are mechanically final, and there's not going to be any changes I'm anticipating to how the map works, like where the connections are or anything like that, but rather user interface issues like color tones and iconography and how big is this box and positioning items in that way. Okay, so with that said, we are looking at Race to Rabaul, and it's a particular scenario setup. Postern, this is a shorter scenario that begins later in the 1943 campaign in September. So we've already had some fighting underway, which is accounted for in the setup here. My goal will be to just talk briefly about kind of what you're looking at, what are some various important aspects of the symbology in the game. Very briefly, what are we trying to do to win? And I'm going to hand it over then to Mark to take the first Japanese turn, and he'll be telling us as he goes what he's doing. I'll take the Allied turn, and we'll proceed from there. And we'll seek to wrap up before the hour. Because again, we're not going to teach you the full game here. We're just going to have a look at how things work. So you're looking at the South Pacific. You see it's a point-to-point map, similar to the earlier volumes in this Phalanx Race to Blank system. There are essentially two larger racetracks, a New Guinea track for MacArthur, the green commander, a Solomons track for Halsey, the blue commander, and there's a Japanese commander opposing each of them. In New Guinea, it's General Imamura, the gold player. In the Solomons, it's Admiral Kusaka, the white player. The Allies are racing to reach or surround Rabaul, which you see in the top center is the main Japanese supply base. And so what the Allies are trying to do is mainly take territory that shows little medal symbols to gain medals. MacArthur's has 3 here. There are some other ways that they can gain medals, but it's mainly for the Allies taking territory. The Japanese are also trying to increase their number of medals, and they'll get medals mainly for destroying Allied troops, that is causing casualties, and for holding out, for holding some key spaces called the Bismarck's barrier. As far as the spaces and connections go, you printed on the map, you'll see the little rising sun symbols are Japanese control, and some of those have markers on them that show Japanese bases that have been built, either air bases or fortified bases. The Allies, as they take spaces, are going to be marking their control, so they've got these little round control markers to show Allied control, and they can be built into bases, flipping them over into an air base. The Allies start with supply bases in their rear area, where they are going to receive their men and materiel, which the Japanese do at their supply bases, such as Rabaul. The connections in between, there are land connections and water connections. The water connections come in 2 different flavors. Solid is sea and dashed is straight, or a shorter distance. If there's both a land and a water connection, that's a coastline that you can use either way. And then in addition to the spaces and connections, there are importantly zones labeled A, B, C, D, and in the case of the white section E, these zones govern two things: Allied air power, how far does Allied top, cover, or convoy strike reach? So Allied air ranges from their bases, if you will. And then it also governs the placement of many of the Japanese convoys. The Japanese are going to be using convoys like destroyer convoys or barge convoys or freighters to transport their men and material forward. And the destroyers and freighters are just placed in zones. So it's just as a simpler way to govern their movement. Like the other race games, there are three types of supplies. But here, because we're just in a different context, the maritime context, we have, instead of the ammo, food, and fuel of those games, we have ammo, food, and troops. So these little green tent pieces are troops, because we can't march our troops across the water. We actually have to transport them. And so we're going to track that as part of supply. And so instead of calling it supplies, since it includes troops, we're going to call those pieces men and materiel, or I just call them M&Ms for short. So the sequence of play is going to be very similar to the other games. Each commander is going to get 2 core actions represented here by gray pawns, and then may add a single bonus action, which requires play of a card. And so it's going to be core actions that are CORE from just a standard menu of what you can do that we'll watch happen. And then the bonus action is going to be whatever it says to do on that particular card. And that could include the commander's bonus action, much as in the other games. And so the Japanese will do that. The Allies will do that. We'll go back and forth. And then certain things that the Allies might do can trigger a logistics step similar to the other games, an interphase during which we might collect some victory points. We have to feed our troops. We adjust air ranges and things like that. Okay, you also see at the bottom of the screen for the Allies, top of the screen for the Japanese, we have some display cards that hold pieces represented by individual blocks on the map, which for the Allies is divisions. For the Japanese, it's 1 army for each commander. There are also commander cards. And then you'll also see multiple air counters that work similarly to the air markers in the other games, but there's a lot more air flying around here in the Pacific. And then you'll also see on the Allied side on my screen at the bottom left and right, there are some defeated units. So similar to the other games, if the Allies defeat units, for every troop icon, for every green tent icon, for every 5 of them, that equals, in effect, 1 medal. So if you look at MacArthur, for example, he's earned 3 medals for taking territory, plus he's got 7 troops worth of defeated units. So he's actually at 4 medals, because 5 have been achieved in defeated Japanese units. Okay, so that's just a quick sort of description of what you're looking at. And I haven't covered everything, but no need to. Certainly, if there's anything that's of interest or confusing that you want to comment or ask about, go ahead and type that in, and Andrew will bring it to our attention, because I would certainly like to address anything like that during the session. So Mark, if you're ready, the Japanese turn is first. Go ahead and take your turn and tell us what you're doing, and I'll try to focus in as best I can on my TTS view.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Imamura. So you may want to zoom in over there.
So I'm going to keep the Allied perspective, but here's Imamura, who's running New Guinea.
All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to reinforce my positions. So I'm going to do the take action, take men and material, and I'm actually going to take him at Rabaul, because I get more. There we go. So I'm going to pick up 2 troops and a food and an ammo. So there's my 4 items. And if I would take them at my little supply base, I'd only get 2. But I'm going to take 4. And then the second action I'm going to do is launch a convoy, because I don't have any convoys on the map, so we skipped that first phase. So I'm going to launch a convoy and put out some convoys on the map. And I'm going to take some barges, and I'm going to run these barges down the coast. Right there and right there. And then I'm going to take 2 more and send 1 down that path and 1 down that path. And so I got to take 4 convoys. And so those are the 4 barges I selected. And hopefully Mac doesn't sink them. And then that's my 2 gray pawns. And then I still have my black pawn left. And I'm actually going to play a card. And I've got a card called Deception, which allows me to do another core action. And for that core action, I'm going to spend it on the 18th Army. And I'm going to move them back. And I'm actually going to leave some stuff at Sal. I'm going to leave a troop. And an ammo there. Okay. And then when I get here to the next spot, I'm going to pick those things up at lay and put them on my card. So I've not looking forward to getting ganged up by the 5th Aussies and the 41st. So, okay. And then I'll take this deception card over here. And then I'm going to draw 1 card. Did I get it? Yep, there it goes. All right, so now I'm going to switch over to Kasaka. And he also is going to take Mini Materiel. So right here at Rabaul, I'm going to put another 2 troops, another food, and another ammo out. So we're stacking Rabaul. I think I've taken 8. Rabaul can hold 8, so very packed fortifying there. And then he too is going to launch a convoy. So I'm going to also launch barges. I'll launch 1 back here. 1, 2. And still have to get stuff out here. 3, 4. So start dragging stuff out. And then he has some carriers, must be carriers in the area. So he's going to get to do a carrier strike.
Yeah, actually, they brought carriers pilots in from the fleet at Truk, and they flew out of Rabaul and other bases. So these are carrier pilots flying off of land bases, a kind of a desperation measure by the Japanese.
Okay, so this one says it flips 1 allied air to spent. So I'm going to attack Halsey. And then I will bomb the, it looks like the 43rd and the 37th have the same amount of stuff, so I'll just bomb the 43rd. And when bombing, as long as there's more than 1 piece there, your opponent loses a piece. So 43rd is run out of food. Okay, and then I'm going to draw 1 card. And I think I'm done, Volko.
All right. So just a couple of comments comparing to the other games. You can see from this that barges place much like trucks. You're just putting 1 on any connection you want, and that's to transport stuff along usually a chain of barges. But you'll also notice that unlike the trucks in, say, 1944 Race to the Rhine, the barges don't deliver right away. They're kind of sitting there and they haven't delivered anything yet. So the way it works in Race to Rabaul is at the start of every Japanese turn, there's a free convoys step during which the Japanese can use any of their convoys that they've placed on the map to deliver. And the reason for that kind of delay is because we're looking here at counter logistics. We got to give the Allies at least a brief opportunity to strike these convoys at sea, which they did, and in many cases very effectively. So that's what's happening with all those barges out there. It's now going to be my turn to do something about it if I can and so choose. So I'll go ahead and start. So now, since it's my turn, I'm going to take these pawns to show that I now have the actions. Thank you, Mark. And I'm going to start with blue with Halsey. And I'll just try to focus in on my card hand here. So if that does my hand show up on the StreamYard, Andrew?
That's a good question. Where would it be?
Is it on the? Is my screen share showing the black cats at the bottom?
Yes. Look,
okay.
I can see naval showing and artillery. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, those are illegal cards. Those he can't play those.
Right. So if you see the blow up, right now my cursor is on black cats. This is a good look at the different flavors of cards in the game. So when you saw the that Mark's Japanese played Deception and Carrier Pilots as bonus actions, those are called bonus action cards in the deck. They have the kind of the player color, and they are a way to use that extra bonus action in some certain way. And that's true for black cats here in my hand with Halsey. But then there are other cards which are units for the Japanese. I showed you those destroyed units. Those are going to be extra troops or ammo that the Japanese player can play during a battle of some kind to enhance the number of pieces involved in the fight. On the Allied side, they have firepower cards, either artillery or naval shelling, as you see in my hand, and they always just add ammo. Then the Allies have a third flavor of card called intelligence, and you see that Halsey is holding a couple of those as well. And those are used in two ways. They allow you to strike certain types of convoys, convoy strike. You have to not only have the airplanes, not only be in air range, you have to know where that convoy is to attack it, and that's represented by adding this intelligence card to a convoy strike action for the Allies. The other use of intelligence is it allows you to use your ammo in battle more effectively because the intelligence is basically telling you, how to target it, if you will. Usually in the battle, in an attack in this game, you can only use one ammo for every troop piece that you have in that fight. There's just a limit to how much ammo you can use depending on how many units you actually have there. But with intelligence, you can amplify that and you can use up to 3 ammo pieces per troop piece in the fight if you play an intelligence card. It doesn't give you the ammo, the intelligence. It allows you to use ammo if you have it. So that's, you can see there, those are really all the types of cards in the operations decks. Okay, so I'll start out with this Black Cats card. So I'm going to pull this out here and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So the Black Cats card, Black Cat says that it's basically going to be a bonus action. It's going to say sink 1 convoy in any zone C or D. So what does sink is going to be pretty clear. It's going to eliminate a convoy piece, a Japanese convoy of some kind in any zone C or D. Well, you remember those zones, A, B, C, D, E. Any zone means there's one in New Guinea. There's like a green, yellow zone C and D, and then there's the blue or white zone C and D for Halsey. Any means Halsey could cooperate with MacArthur and use Black Cats over in New Guinea in a zone C or D there. And since I'm one player playing both Allied commanders, cooperation is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and use Black Cats. So this is a bonus action by Halsey. I'm going to use Black Cats to sink a convoy in a green zone C or D, and I'm going to choose this barge convoy right here. Why? Because it's going to try to bring some troops to this base, this air base at Gazmata. And if there are troops there during the upcoming logistics step, that base is going to get fortified. And let me see if I can do this, if it lets me. Yeah, it's going to get fortified like that. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to try to block the Japanese ability to get anybody there. So Black Cat sinks this convoy, and it is out of play, sunk. And by the way, Mark, since you know this game very well, and I get confused with my game rules all the time, when I do or say something illegal, please jump in and correct me.
Yeah. I'll try to remember which set of rules we're on.
Yeah, right. That's also the issue, is things change as we go through development. Okay, so that leaves Halsey with 2 core actions. And going back to his hand, if I can get that to show up again. Yes, going back to his hand. Here we are. Let's see. Oh, well. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in this way. We have some intelligence, scout plane intelligence, and you can see that for each of these, it doesn't work for all types of convoys, only 2 out of the 3 per intelligence. So I have one here. I'll go ahead and pull this out. Halsey happens to have scout plane intelligence that can sight a barge. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an air support convoy strike action as my Halsey's next regular action. And I'm going to take an air. I'm going to spend an air, and I'm going to go try to knock out some barges. Now, this would have to be within convoy strike range, but fortunately, that's already all the way up here. I've got convoy strike range all the way up to Rabaul, because at this point in the war, on the blue side, I've already got enough air bases here that I'm projecting fighter cover into zone C and convoy strike beyond that. So I can reach a lot of different barges, but I can only strike one with my, with my intelligence card there. So I'm going to go ahead and strike this one that's going to try to either reinforce or rescue 17th Army. So that destroys that barge right there, if I'm doing this correctly. And it flips that air marker. So this barge is struck. For this same action, I could use more intelligence cards to strike other convoys with Halsey. Unfortunately for me, in my hand, I only have an intelligence card that hits freighters and destroyers, and there just aren't any freighters and destroyers out there to hit. They're, by the way, easier to hit in general. There's more intelligence on them than barges. So that's why the Japanese are sneakily using those barges to, avoid my intelligence collection. So basically, that's it for my convoy strike action with Halsey. And so now I want to do some other thing, some other action. And I see that I've been bombed. 43rd is out of food, but has some ammo. Eventually, I'm going to need to get them some stuff. So I will go ahead and also take M&M at one of my supply bases for Halsey. And by the way, if you're watching closely, you might notice that Halsey has these green supply bases. That's actually just a map error that we've since corrected. Those are supposed to be blue. And MacArthur's over here is supposed to be green. So don't let that confuse you. So I'm going to go ahead and take M&M with Halsey. That means I'm taking pieces from here. How many? I get to take as many as my logistics level. A logistics level works somewhat similarly to that in 1944, Race to the Rhine, and it increases gradually during play. We're already late in 1943, so it's already 6, the maximum 6 for the Allies, and it means take men and material. That's how many pieces I get to take. So we're going to take some food, let's say 2 food, and we'll take 3 ammo. That's 5, all on Guadalcanal here at Henderson Field. And let's take one other troop piece. And then just like in the other games, I can transfer that stuff that's stacked at that space to any display of a block that's there. So the 3rd New Zealand is there up to the room on that card, which is 6 for Allied divisions. So I'm going to go ahead and just move for convenience, move a couple of these onto here like this. That basically just to show neatly that the third New Zealand is ready for action. Okay, so that was take M&M. That was it for Halsey's actions. And he now will draw up to his hand size. The allied hand size is card hand size is logistics. So that's 7. He played 2 cards. So he's going to draw 2 fresh cards into his hand. And he is done. So I'm going to go ahead and discard the cards I've played and give my action pawns back to Kusaka. And go on to MacArthur. And to do that in Tabletop Simulator, I'm going to go ahead and change player color to green so that I can see MacArthur's hand here. All right. So let's see. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. And Andy, let me know if any of this manipulation of perspectives or whatever isn't showing up very well on video, and I'll try to adapt. Okay, so I'm looking now at MacArthur's hand for his 3 actions, and you can see he's got quite a few options in terms of a bonus action to take, and rather less firepower and intelligence, but still some. So I'm going to go ahead and start with his bonus action also. And I'd like to be attacking in New Guinea at Salamoa and Lae up here. But I've got a difficulty that a couple of my divisions, 5th Australian and 7th Australian, are kind of out in the jungle. They're not connected by water. So that always poses some extra special supply problems. And happily, I have got 2 cards that are going to help me deal with that. So I'm going to go ahead and play one of them. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to use paratroopers here. This is going to be my bonus action. I'll take it right to the discard area with a black pawn and blowing it up. What does paratroopers do? So I can either conduct an airdrop for no metal. An airdrop usually costs some metal to conduct, and you're dropping on an airhead space that you don't control, but that is under top cover, because you need top cover to do these paradrop flights. Well, there isn't such a space right now. So I'm going to do the alternative of take up to 2 M&Ms at your airhead. Your means that I control it. So I'm looking here. That's a bunch of different places here in New Guinea. Let's get a little zoom in a little closer. This airplane symbol means an airhead. So I can give these 2 M&M directly to 7th Australian or 5th Australian. I'm going to react a little bit to the fact that Mark has pulled 18th Army back to Lae, meaning this is going to be a tougher target right now. Probably not going to move right away with 7th Australian. So I think I'm going to throw this support to 5th Australian at Mubo. 5th Australian has 2 troops, ammo, and a food. I think I'm going to give them 1 more troop and 1 more ammo with that paratroopers card. I'm going to take 2 directly at Mubo, and I'm going to put those directly into 5th Australians. Oh, 5th Australian already has 2 troops, so we'll just leave that cube there. I can hold 4 pieces at a non-base space beyond the division, so that ammo can just sit right there for whenever it's needed. Okay, so that was my bonus action. Then I can do 2 more actions. I would like to soften up these defenses a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do an air support action for my first core action with MacArthur. And for bombing, as you saw with carrier pilots, as long as a space has more than 1 M&M in it, the bombing causes the owner to remove 1 piece from there. There's a restriction here, not the range is unrestricted, because this includes things like B-17s that can basically range over this entire map. But the restriction is you're not very affected against dug-in positions, fortified bases, unless you've got fighter cover for those bombers. And so I'm not allowed to bomb any place that's a fortified Japanese base beyond my top cover, which is a problem for me because MacArthur's top cover is still just B, which means that this Finschhafen fortified base or Rabaul, I really can't hit those pieces effectively now because those bombers would be given too much difficulty by the Japanese air defenses. However, within top cover is 18th Army at Leh and Salamaua. So that gives me a couple of important targets that I'm going to go ahead and bomb. So I'm going to spend an air on Salamaua. I'm going to spend an air on Leh. You can notice again, I'm using multiple air support tokens with a single action, single bomb action. I can only bomb each space once per turn, however. Okay, and so Mark has picked out some, shot off some ammo, probably in defense against these, or I hit some depots or something. And that's all I can effectively bomb. I can't bomb the barges. I need intelligence and convoy strike to do that. I could throw some support over to Halsey because I see that there are some Japanese pieces there that are not in fortified spaces. So why don't I do that again? It's just one player playing both here, so I'm going to be extremely cooperative between MacArthur and Halsey, and we'll go ahead and use a couple of bombers over here to bomb Bougainville Island. By the way, these spaces I'm bombing here happen to both be, let me zero in on them, they're very important, happen to be Kusaka's Bismarck's barrier spaces. And if you see there in the symbology, you see that Japanese medal, that's to tell you that every logistics step, Kusaka is going to earn a medal just for holding those two spaces. So I obviously want Halsey to get there to stop Kusaka getting to his goal. The final victory condition, by the way, is whoever gets to 12 medals first. Okay, so that's it for bombing. I'm going to hold my other two planes in reserve. I'm going to go ahead and collect up these spent airplanes that I was just putting out there to show where they were bombing. They remain spent. That leaves me with one more MacArthur. I'm going to go ahead and stock up on men and material at Milne Bay so that 9th Australian Division is just built up to the hilt and ready for, super ready for action. We'll take a food. We'll take 2 troops. And I think I'll take a second food and 2 ammo. 2, 2, 2. That's my 6 for my 6 logistics level. And that means that was my final action, second core action to take M&M at Milne Bay. And I'll sort out, I guess, 9th Australian can't hold anymore. So that just gives me a lot of stuff to distribute later. Okay, so with that, MacArthur will return the action pawns that I just used back to his opponent, and I'll fill my hand out. Did I spend any cards? Yes, I did. I played a special action paratrooper, so I'm going to draw 1 card to replace that. And we are back to the Japanese.
Great. So I'm going to start by delivering in the convoy step. So since I still have some convoys out there, he didn't sink everything. So I'm going to start with Kusaka. He has the 2 barges still linked here. Barges can carry 2 things. So I'm going to send a troop. Let's see, what am I going to send? I think I'll send a troop. So they'll go down through Treasury down here. And with those guys, I will also send a food probably. Or, yeah, we'll send food down that way too. Nah, it doesn't really matter actually. Oh yeah, because I know what I want to do. I might want to fortify it. So we'll send some food and a troop down there, and that will spend my barges. So I'm going to send those back here to the spent convoy box. And then up in Rabaul, I'm going to have a couple of troops take this barge down the coast. I'll have them take a troop and a food for this barge. Oh. And then I get to do the same thing here. So I'm going to take a troop and a food. And then I'll spend that barge. And then I will take a troop and an ammo. Actually, I'll just take 2 troops. I'll leave the ammo here for now. We'll take 2 troops all the way down here. And that'll spend these barges. So got a lot of use out of our barges.
So as you can see, you can use barges in a chain, very similar to trucks in the other games. Each barge can move up to 2 pieces, 2 M&M bits along its segment. That differs from the other convoys. Destroyers don't hold much. They can just move 1 piece, and freighters carry 3.
Okay, and then for the first action, I'm going to take some M&M over here. So I've got some more troops to take and another food. So I'll take that out for one action is take. And then the other action, I'm going to do a move, and I'm going to move one of the troops that I barged down the road and move it over to this air base. And that is his 2 core actions. And then he can take a special action. And I'm going to spend that special action on an infiltration. So this is Banzai where no base, allies may not play intelligence. So I've got some potential targets nearby because the Australian and the 41st, right, are both just on control markers, not on any bases. And then I've also got the 7th Australian up here. So I think what I will do is go ahead and let's see. I'll put out. Let's see. I will put a card there, and I'm going to launch from the 18th Army with a ammo and a troop and a card. I will launch a Banzai against the 7th Australian, Volko.
Okay, so let's just give a little more background. So what you can see, looking at the infiltration card, is some of these bonus action cards actually let you do an attack. Banzai is just the Japanese spoiling attack that happens in the game, which never takes any ground. It's trying to cause allied losses, and if it does that, it's going to earn a medal for Imamura here, and it could result in an allied division being withdrawn from the campaign for suffering casualties, too many casualties. So in this case, the special is that it has to be a Banzai where there's no base. There's no base at Nadzab, which is the target, so that's legal. And then there's a special restriction on the enemy in this case that I'm not allowed to play intelligence cards, so I am using just 1 artillery cube per troop for sure. Then the attacker is going to commit a certain number of troops and ammo to the fight, because that's important, because they're going to generate losses, but they're also going to die. The Banzai attack is always, in effect, a suicide. So in other words, these 2 pieces are committed, and then here is a unit card, which could be from 1 to 2 pieces, either troops or ammo, and probably, I'm guessing, that is a 2-troop unit that is also going to die, that is contribute to MacArthur's victory score. But what the Japanese would be hoping here is to wear the 7th Australian down and maybe even gain a medal. And so now I could respond with artillery firepower or intelligence cards usually, but I'm not allowed to use intelligence against infiltration. I could play an artillery card from MacArthur's hand. And so I'm going to look at my hand, and what have I got? I've got some artillery, but if I play that, not a lot, if I play that artillery, I'm not going to have it available for the attack that I hope to launch the next turn. So I'm going to basically decline and tell the 7th Australians they're on their own. So go ahead and proceed with your Banzai attack.
All right.
Indeed, it's a 2-troop unit, 80th Infantry. So the Japanese are adding up to a 4 total here, 3 troops and an ammo for a total of 4. All of those die, so I'm going to collect that card. And that 4 in a Banzai attack gets halved. I have to now remove casualties equal to his half his total number, so equal to, in this case, 2. And then I get to choose, it can't be food, but I get to choose the troops or ammo within that ammo limit of 1 ammo per troop. So 7th Australian, fortunately for me, has 2 ammo that it can remove, and it can use both those ammo because there are 2 troops. So I'm not exceeding troops with ammo. Naturally, I want to lose ammo rather than troops. So I will go ahead and do that. And because I didn't lose any troops in that attack, I don't have to withdraw 7th Australian Division, nor does Imamura earn a medal. But he did, of course, now weaken 7th Australian, and he did all that without using any core actions, only a bonus action.
Okay. All right. So that was his 2 cores and 1 special. So I'm going to hand you your pawns and change over to Kusaka. Okay. All right. So Kusaka is going to take men and material again. So I'm going to take some troops up here in Rabaul and also some ammo. And then he's going to launch some convoys. And I'm going to launch, let's see, another set of barges. So 1 there and 1 there. And then I'm also going to launch a destroyer. And I'm going to put a food on it. And then launch another destroyer. And put an ammunition on it. And that's my 4 launches. And then I'm going to do, let's see, so there's my launches and my take. And then I've got 1 more special action, and I'm going to launch a Hakatake.
Very aggressive.
Yeah, so that is a Banzai from the 17th Army. Allows me to commit up to 2 troop cards.
Usually it's only 1, but in this case, 2 troop cards can join this attack. And I've also got 2 troops, all from the 17th Army. And I think my target is the 43rd across this little strait. All right, so I could reply with artillery and intelligence. Right now, the 43rd against quite a sizable attack has only 1 ammo, so I'm going to hope to have some artillery. I better change to blue and see what we do have ready. I don't know. So let's look at, can I get to... Okay, so I've got some artillery, but it may not be enough to use the job. I don't know what these cards are. They could be as much as 4, or it could just be adding 2. If it's adding only 2, it's kind of a bluff attack, if you will. Then I only need 1 artillery to save my division and prevent a medal. On the other hand, if it's 2 and 2, then I'm going to be taking 3 losses. I'm just not going to have enough. Oh, I've got some other artillery over here, I saw. Thank goodness. Okay, so happily, it looks like Halsey is holding probably enough artillery to hold off this attack. So I'm going to go ahead and not take any chances and play what I've got. Now, if I do this, notice what's the situation here in terms of the ammo limit. 43rd has 2 troops, and I'm going to try to add 3 ammo cubes to the one that's already there. 4. Only 2 of those will count unless I play an intelligence card. Do I have an intelligence card? Okay, fortunately, it can be any intelligence card, and I do have one as well. Thank goodness. So clearly what Hyakutake here was hoping was I didn't have all this intelligence and firepower ready. But Halsey, thanks the 43rd, thanks its lucky star, that it probably will get through this okay. All right, so I'm playing those 3 cards.
All right.
Okay, and this was no bluff, big bonsai attack, adding up to 6 troops. The units are defeated and go to Halsey, and Halsey 43rd has to take 3 losses, and all of that can come from the cards I already played, so I don't have to even lose the cube that's already at my base. The intelligence lets me use up to 6 ammo cubes for my 2 troops. So this is all, now these are all, of course, these cards are all expended. There's that, but at least I didn't have to lose my division or give up a medal to Kusaka, let Kusaka take a medal. So that was a fortunate outcome for the 43rd U.S. Division.
Quick programming note, if we can.
Go ahead.
So you guys are good to keep going, but I have to jump off here to go interview Brian Train. And so
Okay.
What you can do, I won't be able to hear you anymore, but you can keep this going as long as you want. When you're done, you can just exit out of this window, and I will end this stream as soon as I see you are gone.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for doing this. We appreciate you very much.
Okay. And if anyone is still with us, let me just say quickly what the plan is. First of all, again, apologies that we started a little late. We have seen logistical activity taking, and for the Japanese moving around men and materiel. We've seen a good amount of combat airstrikes by the Allies and bonsai attacks by the Japanese. A couple of things that, if you're able also to continue, Mark, that I want to show is I want to show a little bit of, I want to show some Allied attacking, Allied movement of men and material, and then run through a logistics step. And then we'll have kind of seen how the main parts of the game work, and we'll call it a victory. So if anybody is able to stick around, that's the agenda. If not, thank you for joining this far along. Okay, so Mark, we're back to the Allies' turn, are we?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna, since I'm on Halsey, I'm gonna go ahead and stick with Halsey. And there's another thing I wanted to show, and that is building a base. So I would like to, build up my air bases. It's important to advancing the range of my top cover and convoy strike. It's also important for stacking and for launching invasions. I need bases for all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and have 37th US here build a base. To build a base, I'm going to need to remove one of each flavor of M&M. So it costs 1 troop, 1 food, and 1 ammo from 37th, and that's going to let me flip this marker over to an air base. Now, every time the Allies build an air base or use their last landing craft for an attack by water, or clear out their reserves of all but one type of M&M, it will trigger a logistics step at the end of the Allies' turn. So in this case, I used a core action with the 37th to build a base. I'm going to put that pawn over here just to remind us that we are going to be doing a logistics step as soon as both of the Allied commanders finish their turn. So since I know a logistics step is coming, it would be a good time to make sure that my troops have some food, including the front line. And that seems to be a bit of a problem because I've got 2 food total for 3 divisions. So we're not going to have enough unless I take some more food. Unfortunately for me, I have already used up a core action to build that base. So I'm going to have some supply issues going forward here, unfortunately. But at a minimum, I want to get food to my frontline divisions. So I'm going to do a regular action. I'm going to do, whoops, not that one. I'm going to do a transfer men and materiel from my supply base at Henderson. And the way it works for the Allies, within their shipping lanes, which is all the connections, the water connections under top cover, including partial connections in and out of a zone. So everything up to here that I control, of course, not Japanese territory, is Allied shipping lanes. I can just, from one space, basically ship however much I want. Just imagine that the area is just swarming with Liberty ships and the like. So this food, for example, we can go ahead and give to 43rd US here. And sorry, New Zealand, we're going to take that food away from you and we're going to send it to the hard fighting 37th. I think we'll go ahead and reinforce 37th with some troops as well. So you'll notice that here, just like in the other series, the blocks and their display cards are really kind of just buckets for logistical movement in and out. Headquarters, if you like, is one way to think of them. And then I think we're going to need to get them some ammo as well. So let's give the 37th some more ammo for future attacks. And the New Zealanders will leave them some ammo against a potential Japanese bombing, but we'll send 43rd some ammo as well, like that. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So we'll call that the second core action. That leaves me a special action. So I'll go ahead and let's look at how commander's action works. Boy, I would have liked to do some airstrikes against those convoys, but I'm too busy building bases and moving logistics around. Let's use Halsey's special action, cruisers, abort 1 zone and redraw 1 naval shelling. So if I use Halsey's card, his commander's special action, it's going to flip that card until the next logistics step. I know that's coming up soon, so I may as well go ahead and use this. Abort 1 zone means I choose 1 zone and all convoys there abort. They're not sunk. They just go back to fleet, and anything they're carrying goes back to the Japanese reserve. So I'm going to choose for Halsey's special action, cruisers, I'm going to abort all Japanese convoys in zone C. So that goes actually back into the reserve because it's aborted. It's an abort. And it's an abort, so those actually go right back into the fleet. Essentially, they turn back because of all the Allied cruiser activity. There you go. Okay, but it delays the delivery. So I'm at least doing something, even though I would really like to go up and sink this destroyer. But I had an intelligence card that could have done that, but they got diverted to hold off that Hyakutaki's big attack. So I'm kind of, yeah, a little bit thrown back on my heels by that and not able to deal with all of his convoys coming down the Solomons. Okay, so Halsey did a special action. The other part of it is redraw 1 shelling. If my discard pile had any naval shelling in it, I could redraw that into my hand. I know that it doesn't. So I'm just going to go ahead and call it a day here, and that uses up Halsey's bonus action, commander bonus action, again, using a card. And Halsey is indeed done. I'm going to leave that pawn there and give you back the others. And we go on to the green player, MacArthur. Okay, so with MacArthur, I'd like to go ahead and show an allied attack. And I'm going to try and make this pretty fancy just to kind of jump in with both feet and show how this goes and see whether it succeeds or not. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to do, let me back up. When the allies attack, these are called division attacks. The only way to attack is not just with pieces alone. It has to be a division. It has to be a block going forward with what they can carry. And then that can be augmented with intelligence and artillery and naval shelling and the like. And a single action, a division attack, attacks with one division. But the Allies can do something that the Allies in real life did a lot, and that is called a pinning attack. That is, two different divisions from two different angles can combine into a single attack to kind of flank the Japanese, if you will, or hold them in place in a hammer and anvil kind of a way. So I'm going to go ahead and get fancy and try that at Salamaua. And I'm going to take advantage of the fact that 18th Army has pulled back, and I bombed to Salamaua so that it doesn't have any ammo other than what might come from Japanese cards. And the Japanese were busy doing other things like beating up 7th Australians and not able to get any reinforcements there. So I'm going to try and take advantage of that. So I'm going to start with diggers. So diggers is a bonus action that allows me to conduct a normal attack. A normal attack means not a pair drop, not an invasion. This has to be by land. Normal attacks can be by straight, but in this case, it has to be by land. And usually when you attack by land as the Allies, it costs you a food to do it. In this case, it won't cost any food for 5th Australian just because of this special bonus action. So that's going to be my bonus action. And so 5th Australian is going to go forward with what it can carry. And what does it have? 5th Australian has 3 troops and a food and 2 ammo. And so the ammo is going to come along. The food, rather, is going to come along. But it's the troops, of course, who are going to do the fighting. So I'm just going to show, you don't have to do this, but if I can collect these up and put them out here. It's just a little easier for the arithmetic to show there are 3 troops attacking. And the ammo that I commit, any ammo I commit, just like with Japanese ammo in Banzai attack, any ammo I commit, I'm actually shooting that off. So the question is, how much ammo do I want to commit? I'm gonna wait and see. I'm probably not gonna want to expend all this ammo. So let me just commit 1 for now. How about that? Okay, so that's like now a total of 4. And then I'm going to add to that as a separate regular core action, I'm going to do an invasion. And an invasion has to launch from a base, but it can then travel any distance along Allied shipping lanes, meaning water that's under top cover, to reach its target. So I'm going to use 9th Australian, and they're going to go all the way along up the coast that I've already taken, or even out into the water, and come in on Salamaua from the sea. So 9th Australian is going to end up attacking in this direction and combine with 5th Australian against the fortified base there. This is hopefully, I'm hoping, overkill, but we'll see. And we're going to take, and when I do an attack by water like that, I'm not spending land, I'm instead spending a landing craft, which the Allies have a limit of supply in their fleet down here. So 1 landing craft spent. That's to enable 9th Australian to do the invasion by sea. 9th Australian has 2 troops, so I'll go ahead and put those out here just to remind us what they're coming in with. And it's going to go ahead and expend 2 ammo. And so now against this 1 troop, I've got 4 plus 4, I've got 8. That sounds like it's more than enough. What could go wrong here? Well, first of all, Salamaua is fortified. That's what this hex means, which means that whatever Japanese have there is going to be doubled. Plus, in defense, where there are troops, the Japanese are going to be able to play up to 2 cards. Well, up to 2 cards can add up to another 4 units or ammo if Imamura has that in his hand. So that would be 5 doubled to 10, and I would lose because I only have right now 8. If I lose and it's an invasion, that division's going to lose everything. It means they got thrown off the beach. So I definitely don't want that. So I do want to throw in some more stuff. So let me see what I can do. First of all, I'm going to need some intelligence, because if I throw in any more ammo for 9th Australian, I'm going to be exceeding the troops with the ammo. So I'm going to need to have some intelligence. So I'm going to take my intelligence card here. I'm not going to let Imamura know what it is quite yet, but I'm going to say this card is going to be supporting 9th Australian's attack. And then that would let me add some naval shelling. And I'll just show it this face up so that you all can see what it is. So for Mark, he wouldn't be seeing what these cards are yet, but he'd see that I'm playing something, right? So that's going to allow me to go basically have 3 ammo with this 2 troops by the intelligence, the 3rd ammo coming from naval shelling. And you know, I've got so much ammo here at Milne Bay, I may as well take more pieces. So let's see, 9th Australian will spend another ammo. It's taking a food along. Let's see what we've got now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The maximum defense is a 5 doubled to 10. I need to exceed that. I think that means I need to expend some more ammo. I have an artillery. I'm going to go ahead and use that. And I can't use artillery for the invasion, but I can use it for the land attack by 7th Australian. That would give me 3 ammo to go with their 3 troops. I don't need intelligence to buck that up. So I think this is a winning attack. Okay, so that's my attack. Mark, go ahead and respond, and we'll see if I did my arithmetic correctly.
So you got 4 from 5th Australian and 6 from 9th.
Well, I've got artillery for 5th as well.
Oh,
of course you wouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
but you wouldn't
12.
see that. You would be seeing 4 from 5th in the pieces plus a card, and 5, presuming there's intel, plus 2 cards from 9th.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd be looking at 9 and 3 face down cards.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's more than I think I can take. So I'm going to let you have it.
So he could have played up to 2 cards, but those, if they were defeated, I would get those cards as my destroyed units. They'd no longer be in his deck to fight with, and I'd get them to count towards my medal total. 5 green troop icons equals 1 medal. So he's going to basically let Salamaua go. So that means this is an advance. He loses what's there. He's going to lose his base. I'm going to get to control it and advance there. So shift that control. In taking Salamaua, that's worth a medal. So MacArthur's going to get a medal for that. And then I've got to take losses. My losses have to equal the Japanese total, but not doubled for the base. That was only 1. So I can easily cover that with all the ammo I've already expended, which is like 8 or 7, I guess. So I'm not going to lose any troops, but I am expending. It doesn't matter what he defended with. I've expended all those shells. They're just blowing up in the jungle and on the beach, even if there's no Japanese there. So that ammo is used up. These ammo are used up. Boom. The cards, of course, are all discarded. And one of my 2 divisions then needs to advance the space. And if one of them was an invasion or an airdrop, that's the division that goes there. So the 9th Australian lands, the 5th Australian remains in support at Mubo. 5th Australian. And yeah, that's right. This is going to fit now on since I expended all this ammo. Okay, so notice I've taken the place. But now 9th Australian is sitting there with no ammo and only troops. It's got a food. That's nice for the upcoming logistics step. After the logistics, when they eat that food, they're not going to have anything. They're basically going to be naked. And any losses they take, either to Japanese bonsai or bombing, is going to give Imamura or whoever's attacking me a medal, and it's going to remove that division. So I desperately need to get them some ammo. So since I used 1 corps for the invasion, and the second was a bonus action for the attack, the pincer attack with diggers. I have 1 action left to try to send my frontline division some reinforcement after the battle, and that's what I'm going to do. So fortunately, I've prepared ahead. I've got some food and ammo at Milne Bay, so I'm going to send that forward to 9th Australian. I'm going to send them the troops. Again, this is another transfer M&M within shipping lanes. The top guards all my ships that are doing this transport. I'm going to send them enough food to feed those troops, and I'm going to send them a couple of ammo as well to defend Salamaua. And this food, let's see, is there anybody whose needs are not quite met? The 5th, unfortunately for me, the 5th Australian, with 3 troops to feed, they're not on shipping lanes. They're back there in the interior, so that's not going to do me any good to ship them anything with this action. I will have to use this somewhere else. We'll just give it to the 41st U.S., I suppose. There we go. Okay, so that completes MacArthur's 3 actions. First, return the pawns, discard the cards, and then we're going to do a logistics step. MacArthur refills to, forgot to refill Halsey. He would have drawn 3 cards. MacArthur expended a whopping 4 cards in that very fancy attack. And there we go. All right. Let's do the logistics step. Maybe, Mark, you could talk us through, and I will pull up from the play aid. This is a homemade prototype play aid, the logistics step, and you can kind of talk through what we're doing, and I'll pop back and forth between the printed list and the, well, I'll tell you what, I'll read it out and you execute. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. So as you see here, listed at the upper right on the play aid, the logistics step has occurs in certain conditions. One of them is Allied Air Base built. That's what's triggering this one. And then we're going to go through step 1 through 10. So step 1, each space, remove 1 food per 2 troops rounded up. And then any unfed troops get removed except the last Japanese, meaning the last Japanese troops piece in each space. The Japanese garden, basically, when they get down to a certain level. So let's go ahead and do that together. Why don't you go ahead and do the Japanese feeding their troops with food.
All right, so I have only for Kusaka, I only have 1 spot that has 2 troops, and that's in Rabaul. So one of those guys is going to die.
Actually, both are unfed, so. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're Japanese. Yeah, see, I'm thinking
Yeah, we eat belts.
One of those guys dies because the last piece is going to garden. Okay, correct. Right. Now, where you do only have 1, if you have food for them, they will accept and eat that food.
Yeah. So I've got 1 up in Madang. I've got 1 over here in the bay. And then you can't see it, but 18th Army also has a food. So 18th Army will also eat a food. Ta-da!
And his 17th Army is just cleared out. There's nothing there. It's an empty.
There's nothing there. Yeah.
Empty headquarters. Okay.
And if we go over there, I thought I had some food somewhere. Oh, here it is, down here.
Vela La Vela.
Yeah. So we ate some food there.
Okay.
And I still have food on a destroyer, but lucky for us, they're eating Navy chow.
Yeah, the Navy goes ahead and just supplies itself. We don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now I have to do mine. So except for the these odd ammo pieces here, MacArthur's troops to be fed are all on the division. So I can just go down to the display. 1 food for 2 troops. Everybody else is removed. So 7th Australian eats their food, 1 for 2. 5th Australian eats their food, but because they've got 3, 1 of those 3 is unfed, so they're also removed. Note that the grant any medal in this case because it's not in combat. 41st U.S. has 2 food and just eats 1 of them with its 2 troops. 11th Australian, 2 troops eat 1. And 9th Australian, 4 troops eat both food. And that's MacArthur. And then let's see how Halsey's doing. Halsey, again, all the troops are in the divisions. 37th, 2 troops eat 1. 43rd, same story. And now we get to the 3rd New Zealand, who are kind of acting as a headquarters security division right now. They didn't go forward. I took their food away from them. So these troops are going to be unhappy, get some malaria on Guadalcanal. And so we're going to have to remove those troops from that division. The division's still there for now, and it can receive more troops easily enough. It's at an Allied supply base after all, but it's just going to hold me up to basically reman them with troops that are not suffering from the tropical conditions without their malaria pills and so on. Okay, so that was step 1 of logistics. Let's go on. Step 2, Allies withdraw any divisions that are both at 0 troops and adjacent to Japanese control. So if I fail to feed my frontline divisions, they're going to be suffering enough under those combat conditions that I'm going to need to withdraw them for rest and refit. So backing out a little bit, in this scenario, we already have some Allied divisions, they're off to the side here, that were withdrawn in earlier combat. During this campaign, the Allies were rotating their divisions in and out of combat. They'd pull them back to Australia or New Caledonia for rest and refit, and then send them either back into the South Pacific or elsewhere in some cases after many months of R&R and training and reprovisioning and so forth. So that can happen also in the game. And in this case, the 3rd New Zealand does not withdraw because it's not adjacent to Japanese control. It's comfortable in the rear area. And every other division I have does have some troops. So I did have enough food at least that I'm not forced to withdraw any divisions at this time. Step 3, Japanese, meaning a Japanese commander, holds Bismarck's barrier, take 1 medal. Okay, so we talked about the Bismarck's barrier here, these highlighted spaces. Same goes for Imamura. It's these 2 highlighted spaces. And in both cases, the Japanese commander is holding their Bismarck's barrier spaces. So each Japanese commander now earns 1 medal. And that's that step. Logistics step. Next item is number 4. Update ranges where Allied bases are greater than Japanese bases. If an Allied commander has top cover over a ball, take 1 medal. So this is where I would get to advance my top cover and convoy strike range if I've got a zone where, because I've built bases or destroyed Japanese bases, I now have more than the Japanese. So I destroyed a base at Salamaua, so MacArthur. In Zone B, the Japanese had 2 bases. They now have 1. Unfortunately, the Allies only have this 1 at Wau, and therefore I still don't outnumber the Japanese. In fact, the Japanese outnumber me 2-1. So my top cover is still reliant on Zone A, and none of this advances. Basically, I didn't make enough progress for my aircraft to reach meaningfully any further. In the Solomons, I did build a base here in Zone B, but I already had 2-1 against the Japanese in Zone B. Now I've got 3-1. Again, that projects air power top cover into Zone C and convoy strike beyond that to D, but I am not advancing this picture at all. I haven't built any new bases or captured anything in Zone C. So the air ranges for me stay the same, this logistics step. Oh, and the bit about Allied top cover over a ball is eventually, this is going to be very late in the campaign, if you can extend top cover into Zone D, which is Rabaul, it means that your raids, your bomber raids on Rabaul are now given fighter cover. And once the Allies could do that, they were actually quite effective at suppressing Rabaul just by airstrikes, and were able to bypass it. So that's what's represented by gaining a medal for a commander, an Allied commander that achieves that. I have not achieved that. Okay, Allies each add 1 fresh division at their supply base. So since I'm sometimes withdrawing divisions, it's good to have fresh ones come in. This is just limited by the scenario. In this case, I've only got 1 division left for MacArthur. The 1st Marine comes in. They have rested up from their Guadalcanal ordeal. And I can just put the block at any supply base for MacArthur. I'll put it at Milne Bay. It doesn't come with any men and material. It's basically the headquarters arrives and I can start filling it in to go on the attack. Similarly, the last fresh division for Halsey arrives, 3rd Marine, and we'll go ahead and we could put them.
Did you skip fortifying Japanese bases?
Probably. I don't want you to do that. Let's see. Anyway, 3rd Marine arrives at Henderson Field in this case. Let's see. What did I skip? Japanese fortify. No, I have not. I did skip it. I skipped that, and I skipped logistics as well. So I somehow got myself down to number 7. Number 5, Japanese fortify all their air bases that have troops. Go.
Okay, so I'm looking over here at
Thank you.
Kasaka, and already some are fortified bases, but I do have an air base in the Bismarcks with troops on them. So both of those are going to flip to fortified, right?
Yeah, this is bad news
Yeah.
for my operation.
It's going to make it a little bit tougher for Halsey
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
run
it is.
around and on the float. And then over here, I do have one of the 2 air bases with troops. So there's 1 Bismarck barrier going up, but these troops here didn't make it down too far enough to Gloucester because you sunk one of my barges. So he's only got 1.
So the air base at Gloucester stays a normal air base and does not fortify. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry for skipping that. That's obviously very, very important.
Yes.
Okay. And I also skipped Allied Commander not at Logistics 6, built air base this turn, logistics level +1, add 1 air token. So when we're playing the earlier scenarios, the Allies are going to start at logistics level 4 or 5. The way to move that up is to build your logistics infrastructure, meaning build bases. So any Allied commander that built an air base that would trigger this logistics step, in this case, this would be Halsey, but not MacArthur, would get to advance their marker. However, since we're playing this late 1943 scenario, we're already at our max 6 logistics, so that nothing else happens there. We're 6 the rest of the game. Okay, so now we go to restore spent commander abilities and air tokens, refill reserves from removed, and fleets with spent convoys, landed craft. So this is basically just the reload everything. So for example, Halsey here, who used his commander special ability, that's now available again. The air tokens that the Allies used are all available again as well. And then that would, of course, similarly be true for the Japanese. Then we're going to refill our reserves from removed pieces and only filling in where the icons show room. So if any pieces don't fit in the reserves on these little icons, then those just for now remain in removed. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my reserves, and the Japanese can do the same thing. And then we're going to see the Japanese have a special extra step in this regard. We're going to see in a moment. All right, now this is my TTS handling skill training session, right? Okay, so for example, you see here with the Allies that there just isn't room for these 2. They're just going to stay there and removed. And let's go look at what the Japanese have been doing. All right, so the Japanese have filled up all their food and all their ammo in reserves. They don't have, these troops here are either removed or still on map, so they're just going to stay empty. And we've got 2 ammo and 1 food left in the removed box. So now we go to the next step. So step 9, Japanese set aside any M&Ms, men and material left and removed. So what this means is that there's an attrition to the men and material available in the South Pacific, because what the Japanese Imperial High Command is asking the regional commanders here to do, the theater commanders, is basically hold off the Allies as long as possible on a, with a minimal effort of resupply, because the Empire is trying to recover from its recent defeats to prepare a decisive battle somewhere else, like in the Philippines. And so if pieces have been removed and not restored to reserves or on the map, then you're just going to lose those extra pieces to the Empire. They're just not going to send you more stuff. And so that's what just happened with this small number of pieces here. So that kind of then results in there's usually a gradual diminishment of the total number of men and material available to the Japanese over the course of 1943. All right. And
I also, I don't know if you caught it, I moved my spent barges back to my barge pool too.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because another thing that restores is the convoys restore, and also the landing craft out of the Allied fleet as well. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so then the last bit we have is, hold on. Okay, step 10, reshuffle all decks. So now the discards go back into the operations decks, hands stay just as they are, and we shuffle both. I'm going to just go to blue quickly to get this done. Oh, what's that? Blue. There we go. I'm going to draw the 3 cards I should have drawn here, because I expended a bunch of cards in that Banzai by Hyakutake, and reshuffle Halsey's deck. Okay, so we have completed a logistic step, and you kind of saw everything happen there. So you can see the timing of these logistic steps, like in the other games, is very important with regard to where the Allied bases are. They going to be able to advance their air? Is the food distributed where it needs to be to feed the troops? Do the Japanese get a medal? Because the more of these logistic steps that the Allies are forced to call by their operations tempo, the more medals the Japanese are gonna get. So that's kind of a key decision in the game, is how hard do you want to push in that regard as the Allied side. So that, and then we just start another Japanese turn, which you've already seen. But I don't know, is there some revenge you want to get, Japanese, for that last set of attacks? Or some vulnerable, I think I've got some vulnerable divisions you might want to strike.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and do that, and then we can wrap it up.
Okay.
How about some bombing?
Yep. Yes, I do have some bombing to do. So let's see, who am I on here? Oh, all right, I'm on Imamura. So I can do some bombing. So that would definitely bomb 7th Australian. Even though I'm going to lose that plane, I think it's definitely worth it to bomb that guy. And is anybody else looking light over there? Those guys are all the way back at the base, so they're not.
Yeah, and this, just to make it easier, now that I've consumed that food, there's room on the division, just as a reminder. Yeah, the 9th Australian does have some ammo to cover themselves.
Yeah, so I think I just am going to bomb there, and I can send my planes anywhere, right?
Yes, you can.
So I'm thinking there is somebody over on Halsey's side that was kind of light. Well, maybe not. You filled up 37th and 43rd pretty good.
I did. I was able to ship forward. I just stripped 3rd New Zealand, and so since basically 3rd New Zealand and 3rd Marine, there isn't enough target there to affect. Right? They're just sort of headquarters right now. So if there was a second piece there that you could bomb it, but there aren't any troops to cause casualties, there just isn't enough there yet. So my troops are in the front line, and they are covered with ammo.
Yeah,
so
and then, I mean, there are other targets that you could take.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just trying to attrit down the U.S. forces. Like I could, bomb 9th Australian. But if I bomb in those top cover zones, the planes are spent.
they're removed for the Japanese.
Yeah.
Rather than
So
just flipped.
yeah. So I think I'll save my planes and just bomb 7th Australian with one of their missions.
Okay. So that cost Imamura an air token. 7th Australian has to remove one piece. It removes a troop. And whenever a division loses a troop in combat, the division is withdrawn. So we're going to withdraw 7th Division, but whatever it did have left stays behind as a garrison. It's really the division headquarters and in infrastructure, if you will, that allows it to be used offensively that is no longer available. So that's, yeah, some desperate situation that for me out there in Nadzab. Because Imamura just caused a combat loss of Allied troops, that's worth a medal. So Imamura is going to get a medal for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
so then I
grab your
can
medal.
say again? Oh, yeah,
Grab
grab
your
a medal.
medal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's grab that medal for brilliant direction of an Air Force. All right. And then I think, let's see, I need to get some stuff stacked up.
So before your turn, we were eager to get to the bombing to show it. You would have done your convoys.
You're right. I do have a convoy out there,
Which,
right?
you know, again, I was I neglected. That's sorry, but you do have. Let's show how that destroyer delivers. And
yeah, so I'm going to run down. So destroyers are fast, so I get to run into Zone C, and then I can deliver this food over here to either any of these little islands that are connected.
yeah, including
or even
Kalimanjaro.
Yeah. Including where? Where would you say?
Well, the 17th Army is also in Zone C.
Yeah, yeah, and it has, but of course it has nothing.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's probably when you're going to want to evacuate, perhaps, rather than reinforce.
So I'm actually going to drop it right here.
All right.
Yeah.
And then
that's going to send the destroyer back over here.
Yeah, that was a little Tokyo Express style run.
Yeah. Now I could have also just moved the destroyer.
Indeed. Could have steamed it forward to reach even further to get to Rakata Bay next time, but then it would be out there for me to get another chance to strike it.
Yeah.
So that would be the risk there.
Yeah, and I was in Zone C, so I could have actually dropped off in D. So I had B or D.
Nah, you were in. I aborted you in C. You were in. You were in D.
I was in D, right? Okay.
Yeah, because Halsey's cruisers had aborted the one that you had in C.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, so there's the delivery. Then going back to Kasaka, he spent his air on an attack against New Zealand.
This is against Nadzab. This is Imamura bombed Nadzab with a core action.
Yeah, and then he can spend another core action. I'm probably going to take some supplies at Madang, just to have them handy and close. And I think I'll take a troop and a food there. And then that leaves him one special action left. And lucky for him, he has another Adachi.
So Adachi, which will allow 18th Army to do a bonsai attack against Nadzab, which is going to be defending itself only with the 1 troops and any artillery and intelligence that it has against whatever 18th Army is going to throw at it, which can include not only the pieces coming from 18th Army's display card, but up to 2 unit cards because of the special nature of this bonus action. Usually the Japanese bonsai attacks can only add a single unit card. If you play this special Adachi from the 18th Army or Hyakutake, which we saw earlier from 17th Army and the Solomons, you can double that and have a bigger bonsai attack if that's what you want. And so in this case, I would be looking at, and we're going to wrap it up to this. We'll do this bonsai attack for your vengeance, and then we'll call it a day, because I think we've seen
just about everything.
Mechanics. What's that?
I think we've seen everything.
We have seen everything. So here, I would do my best. So here, there's no intelligence available Naval shelling can't be used to defend against Banzai. So all that I could play is artillery. If I needed, if I had more artillery to play and I needed the intelligence, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the rules, it's possible for Halsey to share intelligence, but what he cannot do is send artillery. So it's just going to be this one artillery to defend against your Banzai attack. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Okay, and the 102nd Infantry adds 2, so you've got a total of 4, 3 troops and 1 ammo. I have to take 2 losses. The artillery only absorbs 1, so this final troop piece would be removed, and that's going to give, it's not going to allow 18th Army to advance into Nadza, but it is going to give Imamura another medal for causing that casualty.
Woohoo!
And I would collect for my medal total from MacArthur this 102nd unit. So now I started with, I think, 7. I've now got 11 icons worth of destroyed units. So just in all this fighting, MacArthur has picked up a 2nd medal worth of units, but he's also given up 3 medals to Imamura. So that was rather costly for me there at Nadzab. And the reason is the scenario starts with having done an airdrop that is supposed to be followed up with a pincer attack on Leh, but since 18th Army pulled back, I instead shifted that to Salamaua, and that left poor 7th Australians at Nadzab rather hanging out in the wind. So I've been punished for that. All right. Thank you so much, Mark. I think we
Volko,
are
there is
over
one
contract.
more
ahead.
thing to show.
What is that?
I can show building a Japanese base.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, go ahead and do that.
So
yeah,
I have a special card over here that I'll end up using, construction battalions. So I can build this one for just 1 food, but normally I would spend all 3 of these guys to build a base there. And that would build an air base right there.
Right. And that would have been a bonus action rather than a regular action.
Yep.
And then that base, you can see important reasons. There's two things that base does. Well, a number of things. It increases stacking. Importantly, it's another base that makes it harder for the Allies, for Halsey, to dominate Zone C with bases once Halsey enters there. And you know, Halsey wants to do that because he wants to advance this top cover over Rabaul. To start collecting those medals. That's going to be harder because that's yet one more base that gets counted for the Japanese in Zone C. And then finally, if we get to the next logistics step and there's still Japanese troops there, then Choiseul as well will dig in and be a fortified base. So essentially, you can see that the defense of Bougainville is building up into quite a bastion for Halsey to have to break. And some of the time to do that has been bought a little bit dearly by 17th Army and its Banzai attacks down here in the islands, but it's going to be it's a tougher nut now, Bougainville, for the blue player. All right, any other wrap up thoughts, Mark?
No, I think it's you know, I really enjoy the game, and we've even used it at the schoolhouse for the logistics class.
Yes, this is the at Fort Leavenworth.
Yeah, the professional logistics found it a difficult nut to crack.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks. And for anybody who has stuck around this long, thank you. Or if you've watched the recorded video this long into it, thank you for that patience. And we'll hope to see you over a game of Race to Rabaul sometime in the future. I guess we'll sign off at that.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Well, let me get back to StreamYard and